Jack, we met yesterday, and
Yeah.
you came all the way down from Singapore to Denver, Colorado. That's quite a trip. I got to imagine that you had some inspiration to do that. That's what brought you out here?
Well, we're talking ordinals today, but when the trip was booked, there was no ordinals yet. So it was one of those things where things were started flying, but last minute, checked that there was going to be an ordinals meetup, things like that. So it checked off a few boxes. So I decided to keep the trip.
Ordinals, as you can see, I'm a fan, at least currently. I'm still figuring it out. And I mean, you are the founder of Ordswap, right? Which is the first and largest, to my understanding, exchange for inscriptions and ordinals. And so maybe you're probably one of the more qualified people in the world to explain, like, what is this craze that has taken the Bitcoin world by storm, and why has it got you so excited?
Yeah, it was new to all of us. So I wouldn't be able to tell you that I have an under 1,000 inscription to show you. You might have one of those things. So you should tell us how you got to catch on the train so quickly. You're right. We are the first to build a trustless PSBT-based marketplace that stands for partially signed Bitcoin transactions. It's a novel way of doing a trustless exchange where Ordswap does not hold neither your BTCs nor your inscriptions, your ordinals, in the process of facilitating a buyer and a seller. And ever since we released it about February 14th, there's been a couple other platforms that's done it. It seems to me like that will be the standard. Traditionally, NFTs basically don't trade on centralized exchanges anyways. And it's positive development. But, to go back to the sort of how we saw this coming, we didn't really. So we first had heard of inscriptions at around like 1,000 number. Mm-hmm. But it was one of those things like, people talk about their Bitcoin Genesis story of like reading some blog article or like The Economist or something like that. In today's age, it's like kind of scrolling through Twitter. So at first,
that's how
it's
you learn
like,
everything.
Yeah. Which means like you don't have much like attention span the way I use Twitter. So it's like you're scrolling and then someone mentions some company you might recognize is doing some ordinal thing. And at the time, you're just looking at the picture. You're not even looking at the number. So that kind of flew by me. The next time I looked at ordinals, it was already like number 7,000. Mm-hmm. We passed like another 7,000.
And was that the same day or like a couple of days later?
No, it was a few days later.
Days later.
So like going back, you're like, I was never going to get a low number, obviously. But then when you look back, it's like, no, I checked the reason I know it's 900 is because a team had done planetary ordinals. And I thought they were also late, but they got to be in the first 1,000. That was February 1st. And then around February 8th or 9th, it was one of those things where, when you first see these things, it's like, okay, cool. You don't think there's a business to be made out of it.
Right.
But by February 8th, it became like, well, if we don't build a business right now, it's like too late. Because all the projects you see today, they started probably much earlier. And in this space, much earlier means 5 days earlier, seven days earlier. And so I think around February 8th, it was inscription number, I'd say like 12,000, 13,000. And bought the domain on February 9th, set up a Twitter account with 0 followers to begin with. Ordswap.io is the domain name. Didn't even have a chance to get ordswap.com because it was like a race for people to just buy any ordinals related domain names. And you were flying in the dark. You had a feeling that like there was definitely going to be more and more business coming through. But they didn't exist yet. So it was this weird thing where people were just inscribing in the dark on the off chance that like a business would emerge, an ecosystem would emerge. Today we sit here as of the recordings, like March 4th. There's already like a whole ecosystem. Yeah, there's people making research reports. Like I think I saw something from Galaxy Digital and they're covering it. It's like, now we project this will be a $5 billion industry as a conservative estimate by 2025. So it's been a crazy ride. I'll happy to go through more details.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the thing that you stood out to me first of all was the trustless aspect, and something that I want to dig into more is about, like, because you said most NFTs aren't traded on custodial exchanges. Why is that so?
Yeah. So we ended up launching the exchange like February 14th. What's the first day we launched it? We let people post orders. But NFTs has been interesting. So I've been in the crypto space for about 10 years, building at first like on the exchange side through a number of the major exchanges. So even though that you could always do like fungible tokens on DEXs, starting with Ether Delta, and then the big breakthrough with Uniswap, there's still like an advantage for centralized exchanges for fungible tokens, like the Doges of the world, BTCs, Ethereum, trading those things, because there's this concept called the order book, and like
and they don't have to put everything on chain. It's cheaper.
Yeah, you might want to smash like 100 Bitcoins down the order book, and fill it all up. So there's kind of a latency and like a central order matching thing. Too. Yeah, but with NFTs, what's interesting is like the reason why you use like Phantom to log into like your Magic Eden, you use MetaMask to log into OpenSea, which is what I call like kind of more like Web3 based kind of way of doing exchanges, because the person might be comparing different NFTs, different rarities, which one they want to buy, but ultimately they're going to buy a single item. And so your matching engine is only matching one buyer with one seller. You don't have this depth of order book stuff, which is why NFTs goes to this kind of way.
And this is an advantage because all inscriptions are all just Bitcoin. So you're not matching like from different chains or in that case. Why should people who are in Bitcoin for, the money, separation of money and state, which is really what I talk a lot about on here. Like, why should they care, and why would they care that now you can make inscriptions on specific Satoshis? Is there it's ordinal swap, not inscription swap, right? So I'm wondering, like, is there application maybe beyond pictures of monkeys and stuff that can be used, that inscriptions and ordinals can be used for? And have you thought about that?
Yeah, going to your first part of your question of why, like, so the financial use case people should care is this is not conflicting with those dreams and those visions. This, in my belief, helps the people who want to separate money and state, because separating money and state, you're not just trying to separate the money from the economy of the state, right? Because if you just separate the money, like let's say you replace gold with cash and then cash now with Bitcoin, and you're still buying goods and services in the regular economy, these regular businesses, like going to a coffee shop or whatever you want to do, you're still like participating in an economy that's attached to the old system, the old economy. Mm-hmm. When you can have digital goods and services, which might be redeemable, like I'm seeing people sell like an ordinal that you can get a hat if you redeem it or something, or you can go to a concert. Like that's a vision, like in the future. You can have a fully circular Bitcoin on-chain economy, and then you have the entire economy separated from the state if you wanted to. I don't know if that's possible, but like that's a bigger vision, and one that is like more, in my opinion, congruent. Because like if you just have the money separated, yes, I get the understanding that like if this money was worth so much money, and then like the other cash money is gone away, then the state can't fund itself and whatnot.
Right.
But there's a disconnect in my belief in that like part of getting the money all the way there is that money has to have incredible amount of utility as like part of an economy. And ordinals today, this is the thing that people have always hated about like kind of NFTs is they think it's just like JPEGs. I think it's just like pictures. And I think it could be that for a long time. And I think even that could be bigger than a huge swath of the actual real economy, because like we're into like a creative economy. We're not looking to put like goods from Walmart into like on chain. This is like a very customizable
digital
world.
assets.
Yeah. So, we're kind of building native to the metaverse first. And then some part of that digital world will have impact on the physical world. So like if you think about when people initially explored NFTs, like the platforms, Some of them came through in 2015, 2016.
Right.
And they were trying to do like their connection with some art museum, and they were selling like physical art on the blockchain. Just like people wanted to do like sell stock on the blockchain.
Right. But there's the Oracle problem that exists there.
Yeah. But no one imagined, those type of people never imagined that just a straight up picture on the blockchain would be worth anything.
Right. With nothing
they
tying
were asking
to it.
questions like, what's the rights to it? Do I legally own it? These were all questions that were unanswered, right? But in fact, what happened afterwards is when you see the rise of Bored Ape, when you see the rise of whatever, it was those people who own those items who would start putting items on a poster, on a bus, opening a food truck, making T-shirts. There's like people who make basketballs with like the art. So it's more like the physical world will be some version of the digital world. Instead of putting the physical world into the digital world, you can do it in reverse, because the digital world is now so much more flexible. Think about like how I would even coordinate putting 300, as of this recording, we're about to cross 300,000 ordinals. Think about how you would even organize calling the Louvre, calling MoMA, calling whoever, Guggenheim Museum, and say, these are the 300 to put into the museum. In the digital world, we are self-organizing. So it's an economy that's growing much, much faster. And I think that's like a beautiful thing.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's a good, you said there, like maybe the first application was pictures on the blockchain, and maybe that's a part for a while, but I guess I forget that like non-fungible tokens, like they could, and they can be more than just pictures. They can represent data of sorts. I see people like inscribing like just words or like proofs of things, like just text of proofs. So it's clearly like a playground there where like people are just seeing what works. And why should Bitcoin, or people who view this as a threat, like what would you say to them, like that's not necessarily the case? And I think it's totally okay to like not know the long-term implications or ramifications of that, but like based on what you currently, like from where you're operating from today and building, like what do you feel? Why do you feel that it is good for that, and not because Charlie and I yesterday were talking about the witness discount and how it's kind of like unfair. I'm sure many people will chime in on that.
Yeah. Well, Bitcoin is like a culture, and like the first day or two when Ordinals came out, there were people on Twitter Spaces having this exact argument. But by day 5 or 6, it was clear that like the people who liked Ordinals had at least won the public perception of it. Mm-hmm. People are not talking about this conversation anymore. So it's to me, it's like you can't revise history. Like maybe I would have loved to have Ordinals.
Tell that to my ex-girlfriends.
Hey, we all have.
I'm kidding. Actually, I'm not. But So but it's like you can't revise history.
You can't revise history. Like the people who like NFTs, there's a lot of people who came over from Ethereum and Solana to do Ordinals in the last couple of weeks.
Right, which is amazing.
And then they might be LARPing, but like according to people like Udi, he's like, I've always believed this stuff should be on Bitcoin. And so,
well, the first NFTs were on Bitcoin with Counterparty, right?
Yeah, you could argue what took so long. So on one hand, you could say, can we get rid of this? Can we like make a fork and get rid of this? Right. And the other hand is like, well, why did this not occur from the beginning? And I tend to go with the latter.
So I met a Bitcoin like OG, I would say, like who was quite, I don't know, maybe he wasn't an OG, but was very into the Counterparty Peppies and all. And one of the things that, because he was a Bitcoin, like, he didn't like buy a bunch of other tokens, like at least from my understanding, he was a Bitcoiner, like, but he was into the NFTs. And I thought that to me, and this was like a while ago, a couple of years ago. And I was like, it perplexed me, because I was like trying to understand his viewpoint. And one of the things that especially stood out to me was that you had to use this like XCP, like Counterparty token for some things, not for everything. You didn't have to like really hodl it, but there was some other token involved in the early stages. But there's none, right? You said it's all like with Ordswap. Like I think you needed the XCP token to facilitate the transfers or something. But with Ordswap, it's all on chain. Could you maybe go into like how this works with PSBTs and why it's good to be built this way?
Yeah, I mean, initially in the first few days, even today, there's a lot of these Bitcoin ordinals trading on OpenSea, an Ethereum platform. And that's like because people thought it would take a lot longer, or maybe some people who are not educated thought it was impossible to make a Bitcoin native exchange for ordinals, which is what Ordswap is. And the way technically it works is that, okay, so you log in with like a non-custodial wallet, let's say Xverse or Hero or Sparrow, and you own some inscription, right? And then you sign a partially signed Bitcoin transaction to say that I'm willing to basically let go of my inscription as a customer if someone meets my price of number of Bitcoins. And if they do, here's a signature that I've already signed that says, under those conditions, I'm willing to let go of my ordinals. So they hand that signature to our platform. They could also hand it out to many, many different platforms. So it's not, you're not tied to our platform.
Where is it being sent to? Like, where is that?
It's not broadcasted yet to the miners.
Right. Well, I'm saying the partially signed transaction, like where is that receive address being sent to if you don't know the buyer?
You are not saying who is going to be the buyer yet at this point. You are saying where you would like to receive the BTC after the sale.
Okay, got it.
All you need to do,
I had it backwards. Okay, so you're stipulating like if this price gets met, here's my receive address to send it to.
Yeah.
And then how does it look out for that to know to send the inscription to the other person? Yeah.
So the seller, as of today on Ordswap, just has a default address, which is the address that's holding the ordinal right now. In the future, you could do a custom receive address and change it up. Like I'm holding ordinals here. If there's a sale, please send it to this other address. That might be a feature we add in the future.
Okay.
And then what happens is like the buyer, if they would like to buy this ordinal, they need to, but we're telling the buyer on our platform that you need to pay this much, which is what the seller demanded, plus an additional fee. I think today we take 3%. I'm sure that will come down over time. And that fee goes into a separate output into us. So once we have both signatures from the buyer and the seller, it's broadcast to the miner.
Okay. So the seller is signing a transaction that's saying, here's my inscription. If it's met at this price, I'll send it.
Which is in sats. It's not denominated in Bitcoin. It cannot be denominated in ETH or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then the other person does basically the reverse. And then you all perform the middleman service, essentially matching them and giving them a platform to find one another.
Yeah, our middleman is a matchmaking, but it is not.
It's like Tinder.
but
for NFTs.
But we're not holding onto neither your Bitcoin or
the data, right? Because when you list something on on Ordswap, where is that posted, and like how does someone list something on it?
Well, the good thing is that if you're talking about the UX, right?
Yeah, like where's the repository of things that are currently listed? Like, is that all like on your website? And like, how can people?
Yeah, it's on the website.
Actually go and list their own.
The seller would go to their wallet. You can today even log in with your MetaMask if you have that to like link and set up a wallet. We'll support every other wallet.
How do you get a Bitcoin address from a MetaMask?
Well, you're just using a MetaMask to tie like the signatures that your like seed phrase in MetaMask would also work eventually to be used as the same seed phrase for your Bitcoin wallet. So you're still creating a Bitcoin wallet. You're just kind of tying the identity.
Okay, so you're deriving a wallet from that.
That's all.
Fingerprint or whatever.
Yeah. But the Bitcoins and the inscriptions are not being held literally in your MetaMask. It's held in a Bitcoin wallet. But anyways, I'll go into that so that once you go into your have a wallet set up or logged in, or like you can even use your XPub for this desktop wallet called Sparrow, which a lot of people use.
Yeah.
We're able to see what are the inscriptions that you have. And then
because the XPub shows all the addresses, right?
And then when you go to the website and you click on an item and you want to sell it, you can enter the number of Bitcoins on the website. And what's great is that you can sell cancel, post a sale, cancel as many times you want. You're not broadcasting, you're not paying any fees, not to us, not to Bitcoin miners. And then those things, if their sell order is part of a collection, like let's say you're selling a Kumcat, which one of the first collections we launched, or Bitcoin Wizard, whatever they may be.
They're wizards. I know that one.
Yeah. So once you post an order, they get posted, both to the market page and to the collection page. You can share that link to social media, find a buyer yourself, or people just scrolling to the website on the buyer side will be able to see sort of like, oh, interesting. Especially if you list it like cheaper than the current floor price, floor meaning like the lowest price currently in that collection, you'll get some attention.
And a collection's like a group of them that all share similar traits, attributes.
Yeah. Like for example, in Bitcoin Wizards, they're all like slightly different colors. In the case of Bitcoin Punks, it's like different punks.
Right.
Yeah.
I just got the GIF, no collection.
You have a one of one, yeah. And that was very popular because when you first could inscribe,
because no one thought well, first it's way more expensive to inscribe 100, and no one thought that these were going to be like, at least in the early first couple of days, I didn't get the sense that people were doing this to like then sell. It was more of like a memento type thing. That's why I was like, I just wanted to have like the advertising so that like, when I'm old and like 50 years from now, I can be like, Value Stack podcast, like check it out. Like that was something I did in my lifetime. Yeah. Not that like that was what but it's taken on and it still can be used for that too.
I guess technically when I could have maybe inscribed the first 10,000 number. I was like I said around 9,000 when I looked at it. But I had like a creative writer's block kind of thing where it's like, well, I only got like this one chance to put something in there. I want to make it meaningful. What should I put down there? Right. It's also public. Everyone's going to see this. Right. So I ended up saying, let me think about it. By the time I came back, it's like 12,000.
Oops.
Then I'm like, it doesn't really matter if I have 18,000, 12,000, 25,000. They're not really that worthwhile at this point, right? Looking back now, when you're seeing some of these people, even in the 30,000, 40,000, they're selling just straight for the number.
Yeah.
You're like, that was a costly like mental block.
Yeah. It sounds like you guys are doing just fine though. When are growing fast at least. So don't hold on to that. So you guys, the one thing I first comes to mind immediately, like you said, provide XPub. So obviously people, may be a little hesitant to provide their XPub because it's a permanent, reveal of all of their wallets. So. Do you guys encourage people to use a separate wallet, and like which wallet? You said, is it Sparrow?
Sparrow's pretty safe, yeah.
And do y'all encourage people to use like a different wallet than their like non-ordinal and inscription wallet? Like they shouldn't use this to combine it with their normal sats, right?
Yeah. So for some wallets has not optimized sort of how they want to deal with ordinals. You couldn't have, because ordinals didn't exist for like until last month and a half.
Right.
And some of them are still rolling out. Some of them say they don't want to do anything. The concern is that if the wallet doesn't like select for the right UTXOs automatically for you, then you could potentially be sending out Bitcoins as a normal like financial transaction, and then out goes the ordinal with you. So you thought you were only sending 1 cent, but then you attach like the Mona Lisa
right
with it. So
don't do that.
If you want to be safe, what you could do is like have separate wallets that only hold one ordinal each, so that you can possibly like have commingling. But as of today, it's a much better ecosystem. It's not this freaky anymore. Like most of the wallets have already done this, and like Hero Wallet, Xverse, and these kind of mainstream like Bitcoin wallets have now done their part, done the work of making sure your ordinals are safe.
So, and is like the freezing of it's the top one, the top ordinal of the UTXO is like what's inscribed. The bottom one is the fees, right? You said use your own wallet, like a separate wallet? I was just thinking like use a separate address, but like
a separate address, yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking like just not to combine it with, let's say you have like a Bitcoin in a wallet, and then like that's just like there's no inscriptions on that, and then you also just receive you go and log into Ordswap, then like that balance would be permanently revealed, right? Because it would be, I mean, not that you guys like, not that that's important like to you guys,
even if revealed, well, we don't know who you really are.
And it's more of like I'm mentioning it not to say like, oh, you guys are doing like something wrong, but like,
sure,
hey, for the end user, like be aware of this. Don't like, first, like don't use the same wallet just so you don't accidentally spend from it, like you were mentioning, right?
Well, that was in the early days. Ordswap today, you can send Bitcoins or Ordinals the same address. It's all taken care of. And we've done up until now, like there's 5,000 plus Ordinals listed for sale. And we've done, right now. So we have about 2% of all Ordinals in the world are listed for sale.
Okay, I got a question.
On our platform.
Do you all sell, okay, because I think that probably people are confused because we're kind of using these words interchangeably. Do you guys sell rare ordinals too, or is it just like people's inscriptions that are being sold?
Right now it's just inscriptions.
So like nobody, it's kind of funny, like, because like ordinal theory is the thing, and I got a hat that says ordinals, but we're talking about inscriptions really on ordinals, right? So the distinction being that an ordinal is like a specific kind of arbitrary counter identifier to a Satoshi, whereas an inscription is an art. Yeah. Call it art. I don't know. Dick butts art. I don't know. That's art.
That's the first one.
1D is 1B, man. That's the thing of all Bitcoins and Ethereums. They can all agree on that. 1D is 1B. But like the inscription is art on a specific ordinal. Okay. Is that right?
Yeah.
But
there will be a market for that, whether built by us. I think we bought a domain name, raresats.io or something, to maybe launch it there.
That's I was watching like one of Casey's early like podcasts talking about it, and I could be wrong. I'm wrong about a lot of things, but like it seemed to me like what he got really more excited about was the ordinal aspect of like the collectible rare, but the inscriptions is on the ordinals is what's really taken off.
Yeah, because I think I come from a business mindset. I'm not a developer. And so like immediately the opportunity, it seems like, is to sell one-of-one art, then like collections, then songs, then like ENS like names.
Which all of that has basically came about in the last couple of days.
Sats. And you get excited about building all of them. But then you realize people are already building a separate marketplace just for names, and then a separate marketplace just for songs. And then it's hard to kind of win the speed race to put them all into one platform. But our own developer, who built the tech that I was talking about, he's also similarly to KC, more excited about the numbers and
the ordinals.
Yeah, the ordinals.
Yeah. I went and looked at the Genesis block, and there's like one mythic Satoshi, and it's like the first Satoshi of the Genesis block, which was unspendable. It's like the very first Satoshi to ever be created. It's a mythic one.
I had that conversation with our dev before we launched, but in the spur of moment after the launch, someone on Twitter mentioned, look at this item. I think it was like a Shinjoku or Shinjoshi, like there's like a collection. And someone had bought it. It was like a very cheap collection. And one of the cheaper ones on our platform. It was costing maybe like $20, $30. And someone tweeted, this is on a rare 2009 inscription. And like my mind just went immediately into, okay, I want to pick up one of those artworks too, because I can say that it's on a rare one.
Right.
The next day, I don't know how I didn't clear onto this. This is how dumb I am. But the next day, people realized like there's actually more 2009 sats than there are of any other year. Right. Because it was 50 Bitcoins per block.
Right.
So then I went to study it more carefully. It's like, no. There's only very, very few super rare ones.
So Charlie Spears said this yesterday when we recorded. He was saying that like, because I asked him like, there's some people saying that, well, it's gonna ruin the blocks, bloat the block space, and he was like, well, I mean, like most of the sats have already all been created.
Yeah,
like we forget, and like the like the what do you call it, the linear regression of the halving supply, right? Every 2 years, 4 years it gets cut in half. It's like, it won't be a problem because the block subsidies are almost all. Yeah. From a quantity standpoint, not time, but from a quantity standpoint, most of the block rewards have been created already.
Yeah,
and so like most of the rare block reward sats are already out there.
Yeah,
I knew that, but like I forgot until you said that too. It's like 2009 has most of the Bitcoin.
Right.
Like, it's how it works.
Because you never hear.
We don't live in that world.
Because on Twitter, anytime someone makes like a transaction with like a 2009, people are like original OG selling or something. So when I first heard this thing, I said, "Oh, this must be super rare." And so like, it was only $20.
Like half the supply.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So now people are going the other way, but no, it'll be fun when the real like market for like actual rare sats come out.
I saw an inscription that was on a vanity address, an early inscription. I won't say what it is, but it was an early inscription from a friend who did it of a picture on a vanity address, and I'm just like, whoa, that's like next level forward thinking. Because not only are they a super early inscription, but it's on a vanity address that spells out what that picture is. Imagine if it was also like a rare such.
I mean, it's such a dynamic. It's such a dynamic because, like, if you think about it, if you were building, let's say, a ride-sharing company, you kind of already know who your competitors are in the market. Right. You're Uber, you're going against Sidecar, you're going against Lyft. You have a strategy to beat them, whatever. You have a strategy of what products you're going to build, right? Even in crypto, during the kind of the ICO boom and then like the DeFi boom, there was like, okay, this chain can do this, and it's got these backers, these VCs, these are the players that can be big, they're the well-funded ones. With this ordinal explosion that happened in 2023, the first month and first couple months, you basically caused an explosion on the biggest chain,
right?
Bitcoin.
Most secure chain.
Most secure, with the most number of users, most number of like, you don't have to teach people what a Bitcoin is.
Best brand recognition.
Yeah, everyone's
my Uber
heard
driver last night. He's like, oh, where are you going? I was like, yeah, Bitcoin thing. He's like, I got some Bitcoin. I was like, my man, let's go. That never happens.
There's no venture capital firm that's like a Ordinals focused firm at the time we started yet, right? So basically there's no manual instruction. There's no like read Paul Graham's like Y Combinator's guide to how to start a company. There's none of that stuff, right? And so like, you don't even know who your competitors are. You probably lose if you think of them as competitors. You think of everyone as kind of growing the ecosystem together. Like I remember on day one, our dev was like, before we even launched PSBT, our dev was teaching another company how to do PSBT. And I was like thinking, why would we do that? Right. This is like our little secret sauce. And then he told me, no, people are going to figure this out ASAP. People probably already know how to do it. It's just we're the first to execute it. Mm-hmm. And so there's a huge mindset change that the cake is like so much bigger. And then for all the talk of like creators going to be one day bigger than the platform, I think with Ordinals, if you think deeply enough, it already happened. We're like the first, seems impressive, first marketplace for this, Ordswap. We have a bunch of guys answering 400 plus support tickets. We've done like close to 3,000 trades, $1.5 million in volume. About like 60 Bitcoins volume. So
3%, that's a good little profit so far in a few weeks.
But that profit is probably less than what you can sell your inscription for. And that's like my bigger picture, right? It's like the creator here is going to make more money than the platform, because like it'd be one thing if it's like, okay, for now, like this, the platform hasn't made as much, but we have this like moat forever, but we don't, because like already today, it's been less than 15 days since we launched. There's at least another 2 PSBTs, and we know like another 3, 4, 5.
Right. We were talking about them last night.
Like OpenSea hasn't even come into the game. So like your inscription is forever. You can sit on it today. You can sit on it like 10 years from now. It's that number forever, right? Our competitiveness in the market is something we have to keep on innovating.
It's consistent.
Yeah. Whereas, like Uber has fended off the competition. Right. It's won, so to speak.
But
it's not clear. So that's like super amazing for the customer. And that's why I'm so bullish on the whole ecosystem, because like, it doesn't matter how, like the fact that we're behind Ethereum on tooling, I don't look at it like that. I look at it like, how many years did it take you to build those tooling? How much funding do you need? Bitcoiners did not need any of that stuff. This was built already.
What's interesting is that like, as I'm thinking about this tooling, it's like, well, this only came about because of a need for it. And like, there hasn't really been a need for building ways to do this stuff yet. But like, I say this all the time about self-custody and a Bitcoin adoption in general. Like, people don't do things until they absolutely have to. And analogizing it to inscriptions, it's like, oh my gosh, this thing is like a rocket ship times a million. We got to figure out how to build tools for this immediately. And it's like all of a sudden it's like a hackathon style work ethic. And
it's a permanent, continuous hackathon.
Right. And like the idea of like, if you build it, they will come. Some people disagree with that kind of mentality, but I don't. I fully agree with it. So the like expanding the use case for Bitcoin, as long as it fits within the rules, like that's something that I'm excited about, because I just had a bunch of conversations with people who a month ago I would have been like, I mean, like, you know, like, I guess, bro, like, I'm not really into your crypto token, but like, okay. But now we're having constructive discussions. Like, did you know? And look, the whole different discussion on like, are NFTs stupid? I mean, or pictures on the blockchain stupid? In my opinion, yeah. Like, but
you still inscribe.
but that's not the point. It's like, the point is not, do I think it's stupid or not? It's like, because I'm only one market participant.
Yeah.
Right. And the whole point of Bitcoin is it's supposed to be this sort of self-fulfilling game theory where the halving makes people adopt it just because of its natural mechanics. And then people come, and then that drives the fees up. And it's like, it's all built on this, like, no one controls it. It's supposed to kind of take care of itself. Well, you know, in order for it to take care of itself, there have to be many participants, right? Because a market only exists if there's tons of different people. So like, the fact that I might think they're stupid, or like pictures on a blockchain, I don't even necessarily think like non-fungibility is like that. There's a place for that for sure. Are pictures of like, I mean, I'm just like, I don't really care about art collections. Like, I'm not into physical art either.
Okay.
But my point is that like, just because I'm not, and I'm talking to the Bitcoiners who are mad about inscriptions right now, just because it's not applicable to you doesn't mean it's a bad idea necessarily.
Yeah.
And if it's bringing people over from communities who say, screw Bitcoin's stupid, it's old, it's broken. If it's bringing them over and they learn how to run full nodes, and everything they're doing in the rule on Bitcoin is conforming to the rules because it's getting processed on blocks, then like, we really should ask ourselves, like, are we really, to those people, like, are we in this idea of permissionlessly? Is that truly like what you're into it for? Because if you don't like how people are using the blockchain, even if it conforms to your set of rules, then like, sounds to me like you want them to ask for your permission, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I, as much of a like, you know, Bitcoiner as I am, it's like, I'm all about people coming over and becoming Bitcoiners. And maybe it is through like feeling the brunt of inflation in their local country. Maybe it's through the getting censored and they want the permissionless aspect. Maybe it's because they want to do pictures and things. Like, fine. It all conforms. Bitcoin's either for everyone or it's not.
Yeah.
Even the things that you don't like it for, right?
Yeah, I agree. And why I think this is such a great like driver of the concept of hyper-Bitcoinization or whatnot, is because, and by the way, the guy who coined that term, name is Daniel Krawietz, he actually believes in a different version of Bitcoin, like another fork. But why it's so powerful is that like, if you look at the halving cycle, then you get demand every 4 years to like buy it. If you look at inflation in a certain country, you're still dependent on how those central banks are going to behave. Now, we all know, like, over the long term, fiat money dies every 27 years, etc., and that there's inflation raging in Turkey and Argentina and all over. But like, what's so amazing about inscriptions is like, no one's going to stop inscribing because the Fed tightened the money supply. But people might stop buying Bitcoin because the Fed went tightening.
Floor is set in.
Right. Like in 2022, people didn't really buy Bitcoin as much as they sold Bitcoin. It went from $60,000 down to like $15,000, right? But if you can have like your own driver, it's like an intrinsically motivated economy or an extrinsically affected economy, right? So if Bitcoin has its own on-chain economy, and it is just a matter of fact better than the other economies because it's on-chain, it's like immutable, uncensorable, etc. Then
chain won't get rolled back.
Yeah. Then basically you can have like this singularity, this kind of hyper-personalization moment because you're offering people a product, a service that like they just can't find anywhere else. Whereas like Bitcoin as just money is predicted that like the fiat is not kept in check. But ultimately you're still buying the same thing that you could buy with fiat. Like I think I was one of those people that really wanted to get merchant adoption back in 2013. Like the BitPays of the world who were trying to get like Tiger Global, Tiger Express or whatever, Amazon on board. I remember people like were handing out like stickers.
I think Amazon did accept Bitcoin at one point. They used to, and then they stopped.
They stopped. Yeah, that's a whole nother story. But
so did Tesla. They accepted it and stopped.
But it's like if you can buy the same thing with an alternative, that is not as powerful as if you can only buy it with Bitcoin. And with ordinals, now you have a new economy where like it's actually harder. You don't have to think about how to make the UX of Bitcoin easier or whatever. The UX of using a credit card to try and buy an ordinal is definitely way harder than if you already had Bitcoin. You see what I'm saying?
Right. But who would want to buy an inscription or an ordinal except for people who have Bitcoin? I guess would be my reply to that. And I mean, I agree with you, but I'm just wondering like how many people do they fall in that category?
Well,
who would recognize the significance of on-chain Bitcoin art? Other than Bitcoin.
Because it might not just be art, right? Like there are people who maybe had never owned Bitcoin before Ordinals came out. They were in Solana, they were in Ethereum, because they didn't come as early as you and I did to this ecosystem. They came in with the understanding that Bitcoin is digital gold only. And like you said earlier, like it's old, whatever. I want to be on the cool stuff, the cool party. The cool parties in ETH Denver, etc. Right. That's where things are happening. Some of those people are like, whoa, having a new understanding of Bitcoin. They're coming in not for the Bitcoin, they're coming in for the NFT art stuff. And the thing is, like, if you're just coming in once to buy one piece of art, you probably don't need to hold a bag of Bitcoin. But like, if you continuously buying, selling, flipping, sharing the inscriptions, you might suddenly find it really inconvenient to convert from your ETH to the exact amount of Bitcoin every time to buy this. So the knockoff effect is that maybe I'll take some ETH maxi or Sol maxi, these kind of people, I don't know. They do exist, I think.
They do. Not many anymore.
Yeah. But some of them might, have a balance sheet of Bitcoin. So like I don't think this is like destroying the hodling use case. This is getting you more hodlers, if anything.
Right. Yeah. So when you look at these the people who are coming over from this side, from the greater crypto world, are you seeing like a lot? Because you said like 400 tickets in support. Like, two questions is, do you think like how much support issues are you guys having, and like around what? Like, what do you see as the most common problems that customers are having? And then given that they probably, because they're coming from a different ecosystem, if you will, how long does that last? Like, how long are they required to buy Bitcoin before OpenSea or somebody just makes it so they can just buy it in USD coin or ETH? And then are you concerned about that? Like,
that's a good question. So the first one, I don't know if the support tickets because our product is terrible or if it's because there's a lot of users.
Dude, that's not good advertising strategy. Our product's terrible. Check it out.
I'm kidding.
Ordswap.io.
I'm kidding. Yeah. But look, actually,
I mean, you built it in 3 days.
The first version was in 3 days. It was like a really ugly UI, but then we've since made it better. But actually, it wasn't because the people didn't know how to use it or the thing was not working. It was always been working. But like, people have this insane request from an artist perspective to list their collection on the market. And the collection, because on Ethereum based, you kind of create your art into a smart contract.
Right. They don't understand the UTXO model.
Yeah, they don't. But in the Ethereum model, all the pieces of art in a 10,000 punk collection is already part of the contract. So for a platform like OpenSea, it's like, okay, I'll support this contract.
Super easy.
It loads up, right? With inscriptions, like you said in the beginning, people thought these are one of ones. And so like at the time, there was no kind of like GitHub kind of consensus of standards of how to sort a collection. So you'd have artists coming in, giving you a text file of saying, my art is number 7 plus 88 plus 2,786. And you're just like, is that true? Can we verify that? And then you list it. So it's really like requests and not so much like my crap is broken or something. Like, you know what I mean? So that's like the support part. To the point of like, okay, early on, we're trading against Bitcoin. And at some point, will the flood of users coming through end up shifting the base currency of like ordinals to inscriptions to like an ETH or something like that, or stablecoin? I think the history tells you that like that is not really a concern. So for example, you hear Jamie Dimon talk about, I like the technology. Why do you need a coin? I like the blockchain technology. So he's been harping on for like 8-9 years that he thinks that you can just separate the money from the tech.
He's just bluffing though.
Right, he's bluffing.
He gets it.
And then he contrasts with, I think he has either a son or a daughter who likes it. And he's like, maybe
if he has a kid that knows Bitcoin, there's no way he doesn't know about it. But anyway, I don't want to distract us.
Yeah, but so like similarly, while it is true that today the volumes on Ethereum, on OpenSea, Blur, or on Magic Eden is higher than the market cap over the volume of the separate exchanges on Bitcoin. It's not about what your volume is in a separate business. It's about what is your volume in the Bitcoin world. Well, today, most of these Bitcoin inscriptions are being traded against Bitcoin.
Right.
That will only get further entrenched every single day they don't come in. By the time they do come in, the liquidity is all priced in Bitcoin. I believe it's OpenSea that's going to have to add Bitcoin. They can't bring ETH because you already saw this play out once, right? When OpenSea added Solana, and they had a choice.
They did do that.
Yeah, but they priced the Solana NFTs against Solana. And when Magic Eden added ETH, they priced that against ETH.
Huh. Yeah, so they're definitely going to do.
It's going to be Bitcoin.
I guess that, because like,
fine.
Okay, so why would anyone care about an NFT? Especially like I've been reading about the burning where like someone burns an ape and then like mints it on Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Like, why would anybody care about an NFT on Bitcoin unless they cared about Bitcoin, right? Like, because otherwise they would just keep it on Ethereum.
Yeah, you inscribe something. If you want to, you have your first choice of what to sell it for. You sell it for Bitcoin.
Could have done it on, and the same thing, like the ability to inscribe, like put pictures on the blockchain has existed for a long time. And like on Ethereum is like early, like 2016, before the 2017, like before the ERC 721 standard even. But the attraction is not the picture so much as it is the ability to make a picture on Bitcoin.
That's right.
Right?
And we have even more evidence, not just theoretical evidence of the past. It's like Yuga Labs has announced that they're doing the 12 folds collection. They have the biggest incentive. What time?
I don't know, but I was just looking at the time because I think it's supposed to be. I imagine it's like around this time, ETH Denver, right? Like what a like way to like slip it in.
I know, it's a great PR for them, and they really knew how to do this because they have the biggest current investment in the Ethereum ecosystem. That's the only one they're
the punks and the Bored Apes.
Yeah. And I think just the punks, if I got it correctly, has a market cap of $1 billion.
What is so special about like these Yuga Lab projects? Like maybe you can help me understand that. I don't understand like why people are crazy about their project specifically. Is it the art? Is it the team? Is it the execution?
We'll get to that in a second. And I'm happy to explore that too. But the Yuga Labs...
It's fine if you got to think of the answer.
Sure, that too. But Yuga Labs, that's exactly what it is. But Yuga Labs, like they have a very large interest, certainly before Ordinals came out in the Ethereum ecosystem. They got a $1 billion market cap collection there. They have an ape coin, I believe. And people were talking about using that ape coin as a base currency for like a new platform that they they own, because like, why would you keep on paying this fee to like OpenSea and Blur, etc., when you can have your own ecosystem? So clearly, before Ordinals, whatever they were going to build as a marketplace was not going to be Bitcoin based, right? So despite all of that entrenched interest and whatnot, they made this, I think, amazing foresight move to be on brand. I think Frank Degod did the same thing, announced that like he's inscribed into a whole block, right? And that's like the best collection on Solana, right? Degod. So like you have the top collection on Ethereum and the top collection on Solana, both indicating they're coming to Bitcoin, and they're not just inscribing art on Bitcoin. They're going to sell the auction for Yuga Labs for the 12 folds priced in Bitcoin. And so like,
good.
That's super powerful. Now to your question of like, what makes their stuff more valuable? That's obviously very subjective.
Different. Maybe not the question for you.
But there's like obviously a lot of like
question.
There's a lot of stuff like
maybe it's like
on social media. They got some great partnerships and all that stuff. They clearly know what they're doing. People like the execution of what they did.
I like what you said about the like they're pricing it in Bitcoin.
Yeah,
because that's my like. Look, I think that. Again, I'll say it again. Like, I think pictures on the blockchain are kind of like, they don't really bother me, but they're like, that's not what I'm in this for. Right. Sure. But, at that same time, like, I think it's cool that you can do it on Bitcoin. And I have a carefree kind of side to myself, I guess, I was like, it's kind of funny. It's kind of fun. Like little pictures, and it's like not a serious thing and it's different, but I don't want to like, if I want to like have fun or whatever, like I don't want to buy another token for that. Like you're saying, like the ape coin and all that.
Sure.
Like I just like, like to me, that's the first thing. Cause probably some listeners are like, whoa, Zach's turned it into a shit coiner. and it's like, I'm not. It's just like, this is Bitcoin. It's a new way of looking at Bitcoin. It's probably an uncomfortable way of looking at Bitcoin for many people, myself included, but it's made me challenge kind of what my existing beliefs are about what's possible, what should be done on Bitcoin and shouldn't be. And also made me sort of aware that like, I'm not the arbiter to decide what should and shouldn't be done on Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And if you really want to be that person, you better run a lot of nodes, because that's the way I'm doing my part. I'm running nodes and I'm voting the way that I can,
It's like, if you're in the year 1999, you say Y2K is going to break the internet, some people are going to say, yes, it will. Some people say it won't. But after the midnight turns 2000, and let's say you're in 2001, you can't make that case that Y2K is going to break the internet if it hasn't broken.
Right.
So like now that Ordinals are out, and not just like as in one block or two blocks, it's out in force. It's 300,000 inscriptions already, right? And as far as I know, nothing broke.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, the only thing that broke is like me getting cheap UTXO consolidations, because like now you got to like pay two sets per byte. You got to
pick the value correctly and make sure you get the batch together.
I mean, I haven't seen them. I mean, and that's the thing, like the miners have been struggling with the hash rate climbing. And it's like miners are like, aren't that big. They're not that up that. I mean, Luxor was the ones
who super happy,
who put the freaking Taproot wizard on there.
Yeah. Super happy.
So I think it's a controversial thing, because Bitcoiners are like have a general like immune system to grift, I guess, and to many they might think that NFTs are just that. But I said this to Charlie yesterday. It's like it fits in the rules.
Yeah,
like it fits in the rules, and people are using Bitcoin. More people are using Bitcoin than a month ago. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
And they're paying fees. Like, if like we know that, like, or personally, I think currently my longest long-term concern is our miners going to like have enough fee subsidy or transaction fee volume when the subsidy declines. Because I know how ruthless the mining industry is, and it's awful. I mean, it's just so difficult to stay ahead or even stay afloat. And these things are like a saving grace for miners at the perfect time. And so if like, and like you had said, Jack, it's like, it's kind of like a market cycle agnostic.
Yeah.
So like, this is probably like could be a groundbreaking thing for the long-term health of the network, where there's other applicability that's tied outside of the monetary policy of adopting Bitcoin. So I don't know, man.
Yeah, no one should be angry. It's not like it's not one or the other. It's not because of ordinals that now we have 22 million Bitcoins. It's still have 21 million Bitcoins. It's still the same curve. You know what I mean? So like, I think it's enormously exciting. And the thing is like, Bitcoin doesn't remove grifters. Like people are always going to
there's tons of grifters in Bitcoin.
Yeah. And so like, what would you rather have? Like, would you rather have someone coming from the Ethereum ecosystem or the Solana ecosystem saying, hey, Bitcoiners, dump your BTC, buy some Sol, buy some ETH, and buy this amazing piece of art? Do you rather have that kind of grifter, if you want to call that a grifter? Or do you rather have the person saying, hey, use your Bitcoins and buy this piece of art that's already inscribed on Bitcoin itself and keep it circular economy on Bitcoin? Like, what is actually better for the Bitcoin price, right? So like, this is actually really good. This is like consolidating a lot of the other use cases of that people do in cryptocurrency over into like Bitcoin itself.
And see, like I never have been confident on the long-term value of NFTs because I'm not confident on the long-term security model of really any blockchain.
Yeah, they're on
Bitcoin.
IPFS, they're on AWS.
Right, like Solana starts over like every couple of weeks. And so like any NFTs that exist in that database, like I'm just not super confident that they're going to be worth anything. However, proof of work, right? Yeah. Like now we're talking about that's why like the whole value stack inscription thing is like, because I was like, oh, this will be here forever.
Oh yeah.
Like assuming Bitcoin doesn't fail, which I don't think it will at this point, but it's like we're talking 500 years. Like this thing's going to be around because Bitcoin has 99.9999, whatever it is, uptime. And if any of this stuff's, if any of it lives, like Bitcoin will be one that does. Like, if Bitcoin doesn't survive into the next, century, I personally don't think that any others will either. And so like the idea of like having art on this thing that is government resistant, nation state resistant, you can take self-custody. They're not going to roll back the chain. Like now I'm interested in, little pictures on the blockchain, like much more than I was before, because now there's staying power associated to it. And then that starts making people think, well, what could that mean for the future?
Yeah. I mean, to put it more like crudely, it's like, it's not like there's ever been a disagreement on that front. I think even people who are into other coins, they've always agreed that Bitcoin is the big dog. The Bitcoin is going to stay forever. It has a proof of work. They just said, well, for other applications of the blockchain, this is pretty good too, since we can't do it on Bitcoin, right? They never said that they were permanent like Bitcoin, but they thought, well, it's better than drawing like art on a piece of paper that, you might throw in the trash or get pizza stains on it or something.
It's slowly checking the boxes because like Lightning Network has kind of helped with the scalability. I
don't know if Lightning is going to make it, but we'll see.
Well, no, we won't go there. But I mean, I will make one comment I said yesterday. Like Lightning Network has got a long way to go.
Yeah,
there's probably like a few thousand coins on Lightning Network today. So, but various layer twos are coming about and will continue to come about to move. There's going to be more ways to move Bitcoin than on chain over time, and so. There's like things that are checking the boxes. Like now you can do NFTs. Like there's solutions that are like the last guest I had was working on a scaling solution called Chaumian Mints called Cashew for this. So there are things that are coming about that are slowly being built on Bitcoin to sort of like, okay, well now you don't need this other coin for this. Now you don't need this other coin for this. Now you don't need this other coin for this.
Bitcoin can do it all.
Right.
But, whether that comes at layer 2, layer 1, we'll see. But like, I have some thoughts about that. But what people need to understand is that like when the Ethereum people, when you buy an Ethereum NFT, obviously the selling factor was not it's forever. The selling factor was maybe the programmability, like you can do these like kind of contracts with the NFTs. There's certainly a huge amount of speculation in there. Like, oh, you buy this art and then goes up
speculation
100x. And like, because we've turned money or even data into things that are tradable, the speculation component will always be there. Like you can go to a Denver Nuggets basketball game and go sit outside and
you can bet on every single pitch on a baseball game.
You could do that, or you could just watch the game. Like the speculation needs to be on top of some kind of base level. I enjoy the game, or I want the ticket. The ticket actually can go to the game. Once you can do that, then you can like speculate on what the price of tickets could go up or down. Now, what is so amazing about the huge inscription boom is that like if you look at what the peak cycle was for how quickly people started inscribing, it went like a normal curve up until like 60, 70K. Then there was this huge acceleration to 100K because people want to be under 100K. Right. And then when it kind of slowed down, like from 100K to about 160K, it slowed down. And there was this lull, and a lull in this history is like 2 days.
Couple hours.
3 days. And I even had team members saying like, is this like, did we just like overbuild, like expecting this huge ecosystem? Like
because after 100K, people were like, okay, it's not going to matter if you weren't in the first 100,000.
Right. There was that feeling. And then the evidence backed that up because it was slowing down. Right. And what has actually happened is that like new use cases, like now putting text on the blockchain, which is a little cheaper, like the stats, the domain names, the identity names, that took us straight through 200K. And I think even that was a light bulb moment where we're not saying, well, you have to be under 200K, you have to be under 300K. Now it's like, you can be any number. And I attribute that to the fact that like, clearly if you inscribe above 200K or above some number, you're not promised that just because the number is worth a lot of money. But you are promised because of Bitcoin that's going to be there forever, which you mentioned.
Right.
And if you think about the number of human beings, like irrespective of what this inscription is worth, irrespective of like if it even will sell for the price I paid the miners,
right?
Just the number of people who want to put some artifact, some history about themselves, their family, their hobbies onto the blockchain. Like
it's going to go up. Notice the number go up.
Yeah. Like people pay Google, Apple for iCloud $5 a month. Dude. It seems like no problem. People upgrade their phone from like a 32 gigabyte model to a 64 gigabyte model.
And they way overpay for it.
Yeah. And they pay like a couple
$100 for that.
$100.
Bro, get a half a terabyte for $20.
So I think the mindset is that like while the attention, like the headlines in Bloomberg articles and CoinDesk is like, wow, like I saw this one where it was like a fart on the blockchain is now sold for 280,000. Like, while that's the attention, because that gets you clicks, the underlying fundamentals is that like there is, I think, at a minimum, if you think about how many cryptocurrency users there are, like Binance reports 100 million registered users, Coinbase reports like, I don't know, 50 million. I don't get the number wrong. Whatever it is.
Maybe, we're not mathematicians.
Maybe they're not on-chain users yet, but let's just say even conservatively, there's 10 million people who want to have one item on the blockchain. That's 10 million inscriptions.
Right. It's the same supply and demand game that why hodlers want Bitcoin just in general, because they're like, people think money, they are going to eventually look for an alternative money than their governments. And if that's the case, there's not enough to go. I mean, there is enough to go around, but like there's not enough to go around. Like it's going to have to push the price way up in order to be able to absorb all of those new entrants in that supply. Well, I want to wrap up with like one comment, just because I think it's relevant. Just to what you were saying last was, the thing of the staying power, like that is the idea that the stupid little GIF of Value Stack podcast, that image will be around on Bitcoin. I have more confidence that GIF will live on throughout history. As stupid and pointless as it is.
Yeah.
I'm way more confident it'll live on Bitcoin longer than it will Google Photos or Canva, where I made the thing, or AWS or my local computer, or any other way that I could have stored that data. In fact, I there's a million things with the power of hindsight that's like, oh man, could have inscribed, but that little GIF of Value Stack will live on. I'm confident it is the best way to confidently store data, that it won't be corrupted, because of all of the reasons that I think my money is equally as safe, and my value that I've earned from trading my time for it. So what you do, you trade your time for money.
Yep.
So trade it for money that doesn't have inflation. For the same reason.
Don't want to block the sign.
Oh, yeah. Shoot. It's probably been blocking it the whole time. Trading it for the same reason I have confidence that my time is not wasted because of the game theory that protects Bitcoin's supply. I have that same confidence that it'll be that the little gift of Value Stack podcast will live on beyond me. And I think that's a cool thing to like reflect on and be a part of. And it's been an honor to get you on the podcast because it kind of brings it all full circle. Yeah. Because you have the first, or you guys were the first, right?
Yeah. PSBT marketplace
and trustless, I might add.
This is the first interview I've done too. So kudos to you. And you of any podcast in the world, unless someone else comes out with something earlier number than you will be able to put into the bio, even if it's on Spotify or something.
First ever. Yeah.
First, the earliest inscription podcast in the world.
Yeah, there's definitely no inscriptions before, like, that say any podcast before the one of Value Stack.
Yeah. So
as I checked, it's mostly just rocks, so honestly.
It's like at least a triple first. Yeah.
But it's cool to see you build this, and we should like almost inscribe this as a moment too to document.
I'm sure this podcast will be uploaded to the blockchain. That's very possible. Yeah. Yeah.
How are they going to get it down to 4 megabytes? Well, they're going to hate that full block. That's just like episode 30 something of Value Stack.
Yeah. But hey, look, I don't want to, prelude too much, but like the 0 to 1, like Peter Thiel has always said, like 0 to 1 is like the hardest to predict when it'll happen. Like if you ask someone in 2006, who's going to invent Bitcoin and when, you can't answer that, right? But once you have the invention, once you have this, the next extensions is going to happen much faster. So like we've already kind of pivoted off of just Bitcoin is for only money to now the conversation is maybe it's for art, maybe it's for a little song. I don't think we're too far away from people wanting to do podcasts on the blockchain. And like just going back, I know we're wrapping up. When you mentioned some of these names like Google Photos and Canvas, we're talking about now Web 2 companies. So all this talk about Web 3, Bitcoin is now delivering. It doesn't have to be called Web 5, whatever Jack Dorsey wants to call it. But which is remarkable because like what has tainted the cryptocurrency or Bitcoin industry for so long for this last decade is it's been rooted in just pure financial speculations, pure finance. And it's like you hear about exchange being hacked, like all these things, KYC, etc. I think for the first time, you have like a very clean narrative around like artifacts, around consumers. This is something that the everyday person is going to find utility in. Even people who are not financially literate around like, what's the inflation rate in my country? What's the money supply of Bitcoin? Why is Bitcoin hard money? Like, I think this is the first time that you have a message that makes sense to people. A lot of people thought like, okay, I heard about Bitcoin, but why is everyone shilling me like these other chains? Now it's like we're telling you about use cases of Bitcoin as data as well. So I think it's like we're just at the start of something amazing.
Yeah, it's. I do wonder. Like, obviously, there's conflicting views on like what block space should be used for, and I don't have the full technical understanding to really even explain how these images are stored on the blockchain.
Yeah,
and I certainly don't want every piece of data ever that anyone thinks is important to be inscribed on the blockchain. But as long as they pay a sufficient fee for it, that means it's a free market, and that means that piece of data is that important to them that they like value it as such. So, but I hope that the incentives don't change because of this, and I think it's too early, and I'm just not qualified to discern whether they are or not. That's the cool thing. We're living in the beginning. We're living in the history.
I think I agree with you mostly, but as someone who has responsibilities with a team of people who are builders, we see the opportunity really in the ordinal space. Like we're not looking at this like we are like maybe our team personally are Bitcoin maxis, or maybe they're not. but like we're having a great time like servicing customers. So we even added like Litecoin inscriptions and Dogecoin inscriptions. And quite frankly, if we don't, we'll get taken out of business because there's the demand for the block space is so high.
Oh, so you can do the same ordinal theory inscriptions on any fork of Bitcoin as well.
Yeah. You can do it on forks of Bitcoin. Yeah. But like, because
it's all the same. They just change the rules a little bit.
I've learned from like, being years of doing this that like, you don't want to go out there and kind of ascribe your values to other people. It's like, you have to let them come to appreciate something. And so like, I'm not in the game of predicting what chain's going to win, what should be the policy. Like when I'm not wearing my Ordswap hat on, I'll have a beer with you talking about like what I think about block sizes. But
we talked about that last night.
Yeah, exactly. So
we don't have to agree on everything.
Kudos to you for still having me on, which I think is great. But I just love the fact that now I'm back as an entrepreneur. Our team is back. That's why we probably work so hard. Is that we found a chance to. It's not really about the money, the optimism, or the opportunistic part of it. Because, like I said, there's not that much money unless you keep on making the platform better and better and better. And being first does not mean you'll win. Like. Right. You told me last night, OpenSea is coming, everyone else is coming. And like I said, I think this is the time like the Web 2 company is going to come because they don't have to worry about some of the things that they were tainted about the space with. This is a very clear use case for everyone. So like we are just excited for a brief moment in time to be able to work with something new and to be part of like an ecosystem that's like so powerful, so strong, growing together and learning from each other. And like, I think that's just like a much better, less toxic way to build. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude.
That's been great.
Do not get in. Charlie gave me some great advice yesterday. He says, do not get in between someone and their NFT person and their JPEGs because they will find a way. That is a very passionate group of people. So
great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on, Jack.